Welcome to Manhwa Recaps, spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. Huge shout out and special thanks to the channel members. The series starts with some elves hunting something down in the forest. They're having a tough time. Until suddenly a non-elf charges in, and cuts the head off of the monster. The elf, confused, asks why he would help, and how they could even repay him in the first place since he saved their lives. They say that he protected their tribe, and they'll never forget this debt. We see a little status window say that his affinity with the small village has increased. It was the first achievement of its kind, as it allowed him to move in and out of the elven territory. The man then introduced his younger sister to him, and she says that she wanted to become comrades with him. Again, this is a first achievement. Eventually, they end up getting married, and there's a big ceremony for it. After he puts the ring on her finger and seals the deal, he gets another achievement. A man then says that's enough, as he thought endlessly about how to present this, and that their game Aries is not just a simple game. Every character in Aries is powered by AI with their own personality, judgment, and will. People in the crowd are asking if that was really gameplay footage, saying that it looked real. The man tells them that it's not just a hyper-realistic game. The Kurum Corporation has created a new world with the integration of super AI, their birth, and godlike existence. The god of Aries judges users directly depending on achievements. It can grant immense powers, and with the relation of the god of Aries you can gain special powers, and become a hero, or establish your own faction, and reign as a king. In other words, anything possible in reality can be achieved. The people in the crowd start getting hyped about it, telling him that he's the best, and we learn that his name is Lisajin. The year 2045 was the first game of its type. The impact it had was explosive, and it influenced not only the game industry, but the global culture itself, and in the blink of an eye it surpassed 1 billion users. A whole year later we see people spawning into the beginner zone, which is where players level 1 through 10 start out. A man is looking down at his hands, saying that it's true that your real-world body type and abilities actually get reflected, and there was a reason only the appearance itself could be customized. Some of the noobs start talking about it, saying that they've heard about this. This is an event that has been in Aries since its launch. If you can break the wooden doll in 10 strikes you'll get a VIP capital worth 50 million, and +5 at all stats. But out of the billion players, all who have attempted what looks like a trivial event, failed. One of the spectators says that 10 strikes seems more than enough, and the other dude tells him that nobody really tries anymore. After sports national representatives kept failing, and even the gold medalist Hanel failed, people started saying that it was impossible. The dude says that if even Hanel couldn't succeed maybe it was just a setup to be unbeatable. The other dude says exactly that, and that's why there's been so much speculation. Homie asks why people are just standing around without even trying then. He says that it's because today the very last hope of humanity itself is on its way in. Here, a man asks if they could scooch over, and when he turns he says that he's finally here. It's an absolute freak of nature named the strongest primate, Madosaok. He asks if that's really the same doll that Hanel couldn't break, and the spectators say that he's huge. He doesn't even look human anymore, and they heard that he beat a bear with his bare hands. They say the doll looks absolutely tiny compared to him, and he might not even need all 10 strikes to win. Madosaok goes for it, and hits it with the first punch. The doll gets pushed, causing it to wobble, and they wonder if they're really about to see their first success. A man, outside of the game, asks a woman what she thinks, and she says that they should just hope that he makes it, as she doesn't want to take any more complaint calls. She says if he fails, then things will explode, and they'll just say that Aries made an impossible quest just for attention, painting them to be obsessed with recruitment and profit, and she doesn't want the headlines to be flooded with that tomorrow. The dude says that means if he fails they'll have no choice but to intervene in the system, but he doesn't think the CEO will approve of that. She says that's up to him since he's the team leader, and he asks how a mere team leader is meant to convince the CEO. She says that she doesn't care if he doesn't do it, she's going to resign. After the final strike Madosaok looks defeated, asking how this is possible. He drops to his knees wondering how the hell he failed, and a status window says that he can try again later though. The workers say that it's over, and the woman says they should run before the complaint calls flood in, and that he should maybe buy them both dinner while they're at it. He says that if he buys dinner she's not going to resign, and she says that she'll decide after she sees the menu. Another worker tells the team leader to get a look, as another challenger is stepping up. He asks why it will matter, as from what he can see that doesn't look like the back of somebody who would succeed. The woman says that's the default outfit you get when creating a character, and you can change it after hunting just 10 level 1 monsters, but his weapon looks pretty realistic, and plenty of players tried relying on realism before, and all failed. The worker says that he shouldn't have mentioned anything, and the team leader says it's fine as he had his own what if phase. The team leader says that they'll just go eat and come back. They then hear a loud breaking sound. The team leader freezes up, and so does the woman, and they turn around wondering why it's suddenly so loud. What they see is the doll being cleaved completely in half by a single strike. The man succeeded. It sent out a world message as he was the first user to destroy it. He gets his +5 to all stats, and gained 200 fame. The team leader drops his coffee asking who the hell that is, and he says that he didn't think there was someone out there with that kind of ability. She says that Madoseok was meant to be the last one, and most likely he's just an ordinary person. He then realizes it's probably the weapon, and tells them to run a grade check on that sword. She says she's on it, and then tells him that it's strange. He says of course it is, otherwise this whole situation would be weirder, and she says that's true, but it's actually an epic grade. We see it's called Radiance, and it has an attack of 143, and there are no restrictions for the creator, but everybody else has to be level 40 plus to use it. The team leader starts straight up tweaking because it's an epic grade in this starter village, and he wonders what that man's real identity is. It jumps to the sound of metal ringing. The fire next to him is burning the sweat off his body. As the hammering sound continues, he sees his father's figure working away at the anvil. He calls out to him, and freezes up. He starts crying, saying that he's finally come back. He hugs his father, saying that he'll protect him. But his father, in a very pained voice, tells him that he's mistaken, as he is still burning. The man's face instantly turns to one of horror, as he sees his father lit ablaze, yelling that he is burning. The man falls to the floor, telling him to hurry, and get out of the flames. He continues trying to plead with him, and eventually he wakes up crying. In real life, we see that he has suffered severe burns on the entire right side of his body. It takes us to a hospital in Seoul. A man is sitting at the table, asking what they even expected, and if those idiots are really still holding out hope. He says you can't break the wooden dummy with physical stats alone. We then see the burn victim calling out to his friend, asking if he's finally here. The burn victim tells him that he told him not to call him during the day. His friend, Kim Ji-hyun, asks what he's meant to do, as he won't meet him in the evenings because he's working, and he can't even go into his father's hospital room. The burn victim sits down, asking what he wants. Ji-hyun asks if he's not hot wearing all those clothes. He gets annoyed, and pulls down his mask, asking if he's wanting to die or something. Ji-hyun apologizes, and says that he'll get straight to the point. He asks if he's heard of Aries. The burn victim asks what it is. Ji-hyun says there's no way he doesn't know about it, saying it's the hottest game right now with a super AI. There's one event in the game for beginners, and nobody's succeeded yet, and even all the big-name celebrities have failed. If he succeeds, they give him a crazy stack of rewards, and if he doesn't, he's out. Ji-hyun says he wants them to give it a shot. He asks why this matters. Ji-hyun says of course it'll be hard, but it's not impossible, as the wooden training dummy has its number one enemy, which is him. He asks what he's talking about, and eventually he follows him. Ji-hyun tells him that he's prepared a standard model capsule, so he can play Aries, and it's worth 10 million won. The burn victim's surprised. Ji-hyun says the standard model has a sync rate of about 85%, and he heard there's no problem playing with it. He says it's worth the investment, and if things go well he can get insane rewards, and you can even trade with real-world currency. Everyone is jumping in on it, and that's enough explaining, so they should hop right in. Ji-hyun tried it for himself already. The burn victim asks where exactly he got all this, and Ji-hyun asks if that's important. Seeing that he's not playing games, Ji-hyun says he should think about how much they can earn with it. He asks if there's any guarantee they'll earn anything, and Ji-hyun says an investment is still an investment. But with him they have a chance. He just asks what Ji-hyun is talking about, and Ji-hyun says he needs to listen well. Within the game there is actually a blacksmith class, and surely he thinks that's awesome. We finally learn that the burn victim's name is Kang Yeonsu. Ji-hyun points out that he is the son of a world-famous master craftsman, and also his only successor. With his skills, a little wooden dummy is nothing. Yeonsu asks if that's really what this was all about, and he takes off his hat, reminding Ji-hyun that he's never shown him what he looked like after the accident. He says this is the current him, and that he's honestly not in any condition to do anything, and he shouldn't even be out and about. We get a flashback to him running desperately, and he spotted his father under some burning rubble. He realized he had to act, and he quickly ran over and started pulling it off of him, suffering severe burns. He tells his father to get a hold of himself, and he put him on his back and carried him out. This incident took everything he had. He barely managed to survive, but his father never regained consciousness. To cover the necessary medical expenses, his family was too poor, and so he had to work in construction. They assigned him to swing a hammer, and he's done it for the last 10 years, as it was something that he's always done, but it was too hard of a task. As we see his hands shaking, he drops the hammer and it falls onto the floor. He couldn't even hit the nail straight, and he starts to feel bitter, wondering if this is how his life will continue, being unable to do what he enjoys. Ever since the accident he can't put any strength into his right arm, and let alone blacksmithing, as just working is hard enough for him. He knows that he's trying to help, but he'll take care of his own problems, so he should just return the capsule instead of throwing away the money he spent on it. He tells Jihyun that his part-time shift is starting so he has to go. Jihyun asks if he's an idiot, saying he knows how he's barely scraping by each month to pay for his father's bills, and he can't keep that up forever. Let's say he could do it for the rest of his life, then what about his own? He wouldn't be able to live, and his body would just stay the way it is forever. Jihyun says he recalls the total cost of his treatment would be about 3 billion won, and while that is an absurd amount of money, it doesn't mean he can just give up. The Yeonsu he remembers wasn't like this, and he said he wanted to be a blacksmith for the rest of his life. With Aries it's possible, and Jihyun will take responsibility for the capsule money, so he just needs to listen to his friend this once. He begs him to give it a single try, and he won't force him anymore after this. Yeonsu thinks about it, recalling the dream he had this morning, and how he struggled to even raise his hand to open the door. He looks down at it shaking, and decides he should just head to work, but he's distracted thinking about his friend's offer. He has to earn money for his father's treatment, and he hears the sound of a hammer, which instantly reminds him of blacksmithing, causing his heart to beat. In the end, after his shift he goes back to Jihyun's house, saying the sound of metal led him to Jihyun, and he recalls him saying that inside the game it was possible for him to continue blacksmithing. He uses his left hand to grab the capsule and hops in. He says that he has really missed the sound of metal, and that he wants to hear it once more, and maybe he'll be able to save his father. The game welcomes him, and starts to create his character. We see it even put the burn scars all over his body, and ask for his name. He uses his government ID as his gamer tag. It starts his character customization, and a blue aura starts to envelop him. He looks around asking what's going on, and it starts analyzing his body type. He looks down at his hand and sees all the burn scars starting to fade away. He is surprised, and after the analysis is complete his body is completely back to what it was before the burn. All the burns are gone, and it asks if he would like to keep this appearance, and he says yes. It ends the character creation and starts searching for a server. We see Yeonsu clenching his fist, saying this is all because of Jihyun, and it's not just that the scar is gone, but he has his strength back, which means he's now 10 million in debt, and he'll have to work hard to pay it back. It takes him to a random territory inside Barden territory, the beginner zone, and places him inside Ren's smithy. The blacksmith Ren looks tired, but he's putting his gloves on, saying that he won't give up, and those instructors will just have to learn their place. So he needs to forge a sword superior to theirs, and starts hammering away over and over, desperately pleading that it go his way. Yeonsu tells him that's not how he does it, and Ren is surprised, turning around to see him. Then he asks what a stranger just said to him. Yeonsu repeats it, saying that's not how he should do it. Yeonsu tells him that if he's trying to forge a sword, the method he's using won't ever create something strong. Ren tells him that he doesn't look like he's from around here, asking why he thinks he can run his mouth. Yeonsu says that he knows he's being presumptuous, but since he actually seems serious about crafting a proper blade, he couldn't just stay quiet. Ren says that he sounds like he knows what he's talking about, and he says that he has nothing to lose anyways. He gives him the hammer, telling him to prove himself, as he wants to see if he has the skill to back up what he's saying. Yeonsu says his original plan was to win his favor, and asks to use his forge, but maybe this could work out even better. He says that he'll give it a try, but he wants to add a condition. Ren asks what it is, and Yeonsu tells him that if he can demonstrate his ability, he wants to keep the sword that he forges. In return, he'll show him a process worth that price. Ren says that he's awfully sure of himself, but laughs it off, saying that he wants to see if that confidence of his will hold up. However, If he fails to produce results, he'll pay for the price of his arrogance. Yansu says that's fine with him, and he starts to heat up the piece of metal that Ren is working on. Yansu looks down at it, asking if it's already been 3 years, and he says that he acted like he was confident, but he's not sure he can still do this. Yet, as soon as he raises his hammer and starts the process, he says that he can already tell based on this feeling that he can pull it off. As he continues, he tells his father and Jihyun to hold on just a little longer, as the senses that he buried long ago are finally coming back. The familiar ring of steel, and the heat biting away at his skin, sure is bringing back a lot of good memories, and it feels great. He continues hammering away, and he says that his body remembers it all, and he can definitely do this. Ren says originally he thought he was just another outsider that would try some kind of clumsy imitation, but it looks like he's done this before, as his form isn't half bad. But this is probably as far as he'll go, yet for some reason, he looks really pleased with himself. He says that enjoying it doesn't mean anything, and here results decide whether you live or die, and without extraordinary skills you'll always hit your ceiling. He'll let him try, hoping to learn something, but there's no way someone in the beginner zone would have a blacksmithing skill, and maybe this is just a waste of time. Then something catches him off guard, as Hyunsul starts folding the metal in half. Ren asks why he's doing this, and then he sees that Yansu folds it over onto itself, and hammers it back in. He says that this will strip out all the impurities while reinforcing the steel, and he wonders why he never thought of such a simple approach. He wonders if it would really work, and he says that it could just be smoke and mirrors, and that he'll use his appraisal skill. When he uses it, he sees that the steel is now C grade, even though it started from D. Ren jumps up out of his seat, saying there's no way, and while he has forged C grade before, he's never seen the grade jump that quickly, and this means that he wasn't bluffing. This must be his limit, as there's no way he could push it beyond that. He wants him to keep hammering, as a few cheap tricks don't change the fact that in this world without skills, he's no better off than him. Yansu continues all the way through the night, and eventually morning comes around, and Ren wakes up on the bench, saying that he stayed up all night because of that damned outsider, and he wonders if he is done yet. Then he hears the sound of hammering, and they're surprised that he's still going at it. His jaw drops, as Yansu's still folding it over, hammering it out, and the entire time he just looks super excited, and he doesn't even look that tired. He starts to reheat it, and washes it off, and Ren just wonders if he has infinite stamina, and says that if he's been repeating this method all night long, he wonders what grade the steel is at now. When Yansu holds it up, there's a bright shine to it, and as Ren uses his appraisal skill, he sees that it is now B grade. He's in disbelief that he actually pulled it off, and he says that he never imagined someone could reach it without a single skill, and judging by how he's not stopping, he's aiming for even higher. Yansu starts looking down at his work, realizing what he needs to fix, but his hands begin shaking, and he starts wobbling, wondering if he maybe pushed himself too much since it's been a while. Ren grabs the metal out of his hands, saying that if he tells him what needs to be done, he'll follow along, asking if that's alright. Yansu thanks him, and they start working together, as Yansu instructs him on exactly what to do. He then picks up the blade, showing him what he's looking out for. Ren starts taking notes as Yansu sharpens it. After that whole day passes, Ren once more is shocked, as it's now A grade, and he says with this he could craft a rare grade sword, and he can't believe this is actually happening. He tells Yansu that his appraisal skill isn't anything special, but he's never seen a magic grade item in the beginner zone, let alone rare, and this means that he could actually forge a one-of-a-kind blade, asking if he's thrilled. Yansu tells him that it's too soon to celebrate. Ren asks why, and Yansu says that the hilt isn't even finished, and the edge needs to be even sharper, and it has to endure overwhelming force without faltering. So the blade still has yet to reach its peak sharpness. Ren laughs, saying that he's never met an outsider like him, and Yansu tells him that he's loved hammering since he was a kid. Ren asks if he's taking this sword with him, and Yansu says that's right. Ren pulls out some better metal, telling him to try forging another one. Yansu asks why he has to make another one, and then spots the mineral, asking what that is. Ren tells him that it's mithril, it's a family heirloom passed down through generations. Yansu asks why he's giving him something so precious, and Ren says that because he's learned so much from him, and he wants to continue learning. Besides, this ore is beyond what he can handle, and he wants to see what kind of blade he could create with it, also so he'll have better protection for himself. Yansu thinks about it, saying that this is not something that exists in reality, and it's surprising to him that he gets to work with something he's only ever read about. It's a risk since he's never touched it before, but he guesses it's worth trying, and he will treat it with respect. Ren then asks if he can call him master. Yansu is just confused, saying that Ren looks like he's lived several times longer than him, and Ren laughs saying that age doesn't matter, and he just wants him to be his disciple. Yansu says that he will refuse the mithril if he keeps this up, but Ren tells him to wait. It jumps to 1 month later when Yansu cuts the training dummy in half with a single strike. He looks down at the blade, and we already know that its name is Radiance, and we finally get to see more in-depth stats about it. We skip over all of that, but we can look at the description, as it says it's a masterpiece born from the hands of a true master, something the beginner zone will never see again. We also see Yansu's stats now, and that he's still only level 1, and unemployed. Inside the game's management, they're asking if a noob really went straight to a forge and used mithril to craft the sword, and then cleared the event. The team leader and them just keep staring at it, saying that no matter how many times they think about it, it's just insane, asking how he even managed to get mithril in the first place. The woman tells the team leader to quit gawking, and do his work, as he'll get demoted at this rate, but he's frustrated that he can't dig up any info on him. She does it instead, telling him his name, that he is 23, and how he's logging in from a friend's house. The team leader says, as expected of manager Lee, he knew she could do it. She says that they've known his in-game location for a while, and she's reading off his personal data because he just applied for the recapsule. The team leader says that he didn't think he would apply since it's been so quiet. Lee tells him that he just came in, but he insists on keeping his personal details private. The team leader finds that interesting, and Lee says that she as well wants to know why. If word got out, he'd be treated like a celebrity in real life, and they both agree that he probably has his reasons, but he wants to know where he is now. Lee says that he actually just entered the hunting training grounds. As Yansu opens the door, a man tells him that real monsters will appear from here on out, and that he can see his level, and at level 1 he won't pass this test. Instead of wasting his time, he should just turn back. This is the instructor of the hunting grounds named Helson, and he tells him to go hunt some rabbits first, then return. Yansu asks if he can't see his stats, saying that he won't waste his time. Helson says that's a hassle, and he could grab any sword on the side and step over. Yansu asks if any sword is fine, then that means that he can probably use his own sword instead. Back at the Kurum Corp, they are talking about how Yansu stayed in the beginner zone, which usually takes only 30 minutes to pass, for a month. He accumulated tons of basic stats. More importantly, he has an epic grade weapon, which is a first of its kind in the beginner zone. But he is still level 1, with no class. They have managed countless artisans and pros before. Even compared to them, something completely abnormal is happening. However, without their intervention, they should leave everything to the super AI, Ares, to decide. Sijin tells the team leader, who we learned is named Kim Tae-sok, that he shouldn't be that worried about it, as he is currently in the hunting ground for beginners, and he probably doesn't know what his fate is. Sijin just wants to see how far he will go. Back to Helson, asking if he is really going to use his own sword. He wonders if maybe he is trying to become a blacksmith, for using a handmade one, and grins saying that for him to pick such a pathetic job, that is sure pitiful. Yansu stares at him, and Helson says that this is a dangerous trial with 3 stages. A trained swordsman is more useful than someone who relies on equipment, and he wonders why someone who would be a blacksmith would come here in the first place. Yansu sees a status window mentioning how the affinity with Helson has decreased by 10, and Yansu says that it is a reaction he often sees even in reality. Blacksmith is no longer a useful profession for most applications, but here in Ares, he felt that he could be recognized as much as he put in the effort. Yansu then says he has a question, asking among all the swordsmen who passed through this training center who was the most outstanding person. Helson says even though he may only be a hunting ground instructor in the Barden territory, he has a discerning eye that he gained from teaching tons of people. For a mere beginner to speak so presumptuously, he starts to feel annoyed, and says that it might be good for him to try it once. He gives Yansu a trial, telling him to follow him. The mission is to teach outsiders the basics, and test them with exams, but to select outstanding talent he gives a special trial. The best trial he used so far is having him experience real combat, as there are a pair of swift goblins, both level 6. He asks Yansu if he wants to do this. Helson says that since he insists on taking this challenge, the cost must also be high. If he fails, he should never step foot here for at least a week, and hunt rabbits instead, asking if he understands. Yansu asks him about the 3rd stage trial, the end, and Helson looks surprised. Yansu says that he wants to clear all of them up to the highest level at once. Helson is just pissed that he's ignoring the importance of his training to this extent, saying that Yansu is really getting on his nerves. Helson says that's fine by him, and he grabs onto the chain and starts pulling up the gate. As he pulls up the gate, instead is the final 4th stage trial monster, which is a mad goblin, level 15, and the swift goblins are still there as well. Helson says that among all training centers worldwide, the number of 3rd stage passers is extremely small, and the number of 4th stage passers is not a single person. The swift goblins charge in first and scream. One takes the lead, and Yansu raises his sword, blocking its attack. The other one then leaps in and points his sword down. Yansu says that any blacksmith could instantly recognize it. As he rears back his blade, he goes to meet the charge of the goblin. His radiant sword increases his physical power by 12% and defense by 8% for 40 seconds. Yansu says that the enemy's weapon quality is ass, and he shatters it all the way through, killing it, sending its corpse flying. He can tell based off their weapon quality that they stand no chance. The other goblin then screeches as it comes in for a surprise attack, and Yansu turns, seeing it thrusting. He can't dodge, so he takes the attack. Helson says of course a critical hit got landed instantly, and that's why the swift goblin is called the natural enemy of beginners. No matter how good his equipment is, without skill ultimately it won't matter. But Helson is surprised that Yansu is actually still standing, as it barely took out 18% of his health. He says that really hurt a lot, and that's way too realistic. But Helson can't believe that a level 1 endured a critical hit. Yansu says that it's a relief though, as a result of focusing on weapon crafting for the last month, his strength and stamina stats have also piled up, though his agility hasn't increased. Helson says that it's too early for him to let his guard down, as the real danger starts now. The level 15 goblin starts to screech, charging straight in, and shoots out some projectiles called mad thorns. They fly straight towards Yansu, and of course he doesn't even try dodging them. Instead, they hit him all over, giving him status effects of dizziness and reducing his vision. As everything's hazy, Helson says that he admits that he's good, but this is his limit, as there's no way he can overcome this with the two of them attacking together. Yansu says that he just needs to focus, trust the weapon that he made, and do what he can. As the goblin gets close, we see his sword slice through its head, and he kills both of the goblins in a single strike. His sword increases attack speed by almost 2 times for a second. He says that with his weapon he can overcome this much of a level difference easily. Sijin starts to lock in, and both Tae-sok and Lee are just surprised. Even Helson is, because a level 1 shouldn't be able to do this, as not a single person has done it so far. With both the goblin and the other goblin defeated, Helson gets excited, saying that for him to accomplish what no one else could is amazing. While it was clumsy, it wasn't bad, as he used attacks that brought out his sword strength. So he must have learned swordsmanship somewhere. Yansu says that he was taught that a blacksmith should handle his weapons directly, and that is all he has done. Helson now realizes that he was completely mistaken, and he judged him too early. As he takes a better look at the muscles and wounds on his arm, he says that he now understands what a true blacksmith is, and he wants to apologize for being rude. His affinity is now maxed out. He says that he has a suggestion, and he only says this because he values his talent. He asks if he would consider becoming a Mad Lord, which is a legendary class. It's a quest that he can start if he agrees. Tae-sok says that this is impossible, as to be offered a class advancement for the legendary class Mad Lord at level 1 is insane. Lee says that just that alone would make him a grade 2 special management user. Tae-sok says that it's a good thing, and it must be, as once he accepts it, as he can never go back. The Mad Lord is a glorious being who leads hundreds of mad knights, and it is one of the protectors of the world. Helson asks what he says, as this is not an offer he gives lightly, saying that he could surely become the king of knights. Yansu says that he's thankful for the offer, but it's not something that he wants to do, as in the end he's a blacksmith and not a knight. Sijin and Lee smile, while Tae-sok is shocked he didn't accept. Helson's also a little taken aback, but says that it was absolutely the best answer he could have given. Yansu says that he never thought he'd be able to hold a hammer again, but inside this game he felt that his life as a blacksmith was finally beginning anew, and he gets a hidden quest to go meet the Lord. Helson tells him that it's his letter of recommendation for him to go to the Lord's castle, as there is someone waiting for an extraordinary blacksmith like himself. As a reward for his trial, he'll give him some armor once used by the former Mad Lord. It's rusted and lost function, but he trusts that Yansu can make good use of it. He should go try the impossible things that others have yet to achieve, and he knows that he'll be able to do it. Yansu says that he'll try his best. Back at the corporation, they say in the end Yansu escaped his biggest crisis. Tae-sok says that he actually kept his potential open, because he might be able to get to the peak of the blacksmith profession, and unlock the God of Blacksmiths class. With this, the tutorial is over. He'll finally get to start the game. But before that, as we see him taking off the headset, he says he has to go pay his gas bill. He needs to make sure that everything in real life is taken care of before he no-lifes the game. While he can see a lot of potential in it, he needs to cover his dad's hospital bills, and his living expenses. His balance is not looking that good. He gets a call from Jihyun asking if he cleared the training ground yet. And Jihyun himself says he couldn't get on, because work's been so busy. Yansu says that he just got the quest, and arrived at the territory's village. Jihyun tells him that he should be able to use the auction house now, and to go check it out. Yansu asks about it, and Jihyun says that in-game essentials like gear and items are crafted, and then sold at the auction house for gold. 10 gold equals 10,000 won. With so much real money trading, plenty of people basically treat it as a job. And that's the real reason he pulled him into the game. And he realized while playing the game that he's never seen anything as amazing as the swords he and his father made. That's why he told him it would work. And once he gets the upgraded capsule with almost 100% sync rate, it'll be even more incredible. And they should flood the market with the masterpieces of the world's greatest blacksmith. Yansu starts to smile, thanking him for the glaze. Then he goes out and treats himself, saying that his path is clear. He needs to focus on crafting, and quest to earn gold. That means he's got to manage his stamina too. It's not like real blacksmithing, but gaming takes a lot out of him too. As we see him training out in real life. He tells his dad to wait a little longer, as he'll make sure he can wake up again. He logs back into the game. The first thing he does is connect to the auction house. He asks for a shop name to list his items. He names it Yun's Forge. A giant scale descends from the sky, and as he's looking up at it, we see him floating in the middle of the air. And a status window says that the map Forge of Power has been created. And he can now access the auction house anywhere at any time. He wonders what to list first. Aside from Radiance, the only other sword he has was the test one at the Forge. It's rare grade, and similar level limit swords go for around 70 gold. Jihyun said not to price it too low. And since it has a ton of special effects, he decides that he'll just put it for 100. He lists it, and says that he hopes there's good news. And while he waits for it, he will explore the village to learn the systems. He didn't expect how much traction would be generated over his first sword, as people from all over the world are looking at it. It was a level 1 crafted item. And he literally named it his first sword. People are saying it's crazy that he made it without having a class. And the bid starts going up, and up. People begin watching it in real time. People talk about it in the guild chat. The dude asks his vice guild master if he's seen it, as it's insane. This is the Golden Shield Guild. And the man's name is Blam. He's talking about how the creator is a level 1 with no class. And with the humblest material, he made the best sword. And everybody's losing it. But more than that, it came out with an enchantment option. The vice guild master says that with just a little investment, it would carry somebody to level 50 easily. And whoever he is, he's clever. Blam says that it even has a name. Since it's named his first sword, it means that it will probably be a part of his collection piece. And for a level 1 with a skill like this, it seems plenty valuable. And he asks the vice guild master what he thinks. The vice guild master asks if he's talking about investing. And Blam says exactly. They can try and use this to get on his good side early. After a bit, Yansu's embarrassed, saying that even though it's up now, it's been forever, and he only made it as practice while getting used to the game. He doesn't even know if it'll be sold, but of course, as soon as he says that, he gets the notification that it has been. He opens up the auction book, wondering exactly how much it was sold for. He starts flipping through the pages. He wonders how much he'll get until he sees it was 1008 gold. He's taken aback, because that's over 1,000,000 won. And he says this is the jackpot. He wonders who bought it. And we see that it was Blam from the Golden Shield Guild. Blam even sent a message when he bought it, introducing himself. He tells him that their doors are always open to talents like his. And if he's interested in exclusive sales, to contract with their guild, or contact them. Yansu says that he wonders what kind of guild it is, and when he opens up their page, he sees they are a blacksmithing guild with almost 1,000,000 followers. He recalls Jihyun tells him that it's harder to get followers than to level up, and the more followers you have, the more players are paying attention, and attention can turn directly into profit. Right now, the followers he has for his forge is barely 82. But as soon as he clicks on the message window for his forge, it starts flooding out. And he says that recruitment offers are pouring in non-stop. While a lot of blacksmith work is vanishing from reality, in the game it's popping off. And the worth of a craftsman's skills can be proven with data and numbers, making them shine very brightly. But it's not time for him to join a guild yet. He heads to the Lord's manor, and he says that he hasn't even shown half of his skill. His true value is only going to continue increasing. We hear the Lord asking a man named Bell if it's impossible, and if that's the case, he doesn't know what to do. Bell says it's doable, while there's always a chance of failure and restoration. The artifact might not just fail to be restored, it could be lost forever. And that's why he entrusted it to the continent's best restorer. The Lord asks if that person can only be found in the capital. And Bell says yes, their personality is so difficult they refuse to meet anyone, let alone travel all the way out here to Barden. The Lord says exactly, but he can't just abandon the affairs of the territory to go himself. And he looks down at a broken item, saying that this is his father's only keepsake. A bow unlike any other he's ever seen. There's no way he wants to leave it in this state. We learn that Bell's actually a player leveled 100. His class is rogue. But is currently disguised as a blacksmith using his skill, false promise. He says he spent a week earning the Lord's trust. It's time for him to reap the reward. The Lord says that for the restoration costs, he'll give him 300 gold. And before he can finish his sentence, Bell says that if he hands him the bow, he'll take it to the capital, and ensure it perfect, but he gets cut off by Yansu saying restoration. He continues walking into the room, saying that he can restore it right here though. Bell just wonders who the hell's butting in at the last second. The Lord asks if he's trying to say that he can do it right here, and now. Yansu smiles at him. And the Lord then asks the guard who this person is. The guard says that he came with a letter of recommendation from instructor Helson. The Lord asks if he means Helson from the beginner hunter's training ground. And as Lord of Barden, he wants to know of his ability and experience. He's asking for his class and level information. So Yansu tells him, saying that his level is 1, and his class is unemployed. Bell starts to get pissed, asking how a level 1 can act so arrogant in the Lord's Hall, especially one without a class. He's saying surely he knows that the restoration skill can only be learned by a blacksmith at level 80. Yet he dares speak of restoring an epic grade recurve bow at a discount. He's spent a week investing in this, so he should stop meddling in his business. Yansu says that he's mistaken. This is not a recurve bow, and that it is called a horned bow instead. Bell is confused. Both the guardsman and the Lord are just intrigued. Yansu says that the guardsman Becker gave him a rough explanation. His late father left him with a bow, and it was burnt, so he wishes to restore it. A long time ago they received it as a gift from a mysterious outsider. It was unique as it was an unusual bow, and a form no one had seen before. The Lord says this is enough. He's always tried to be tolerant towards outsiders, but he's tired of being deceived. The baseless claims about his heirlooms from this moment on, he will only speak words he can be responsible for. Yansu says he wants to confirm something first, even if it was a strange form gifted by an outsider. It was actually crafted here within this domain. On the way into the Lord's Hall, he saw a drawing of a herd of beasts resembling buffalo. In his world, buffalo horns were a very special material. However, in the curve of this bow there is something unusual. Instead of the usual cow sinew, whale sinew was used, asking if he can explain this. The Lord says that the outsider was his father's friend, and a blacksmith. The picture he saw was a depiction of a herd migration of the giant buffalo. They were monsters, and the horns of the giant buffalo, and whale sinew. Both are rare resources found in Barden swamps and ports. The man gifted his father a bow made with Barden's finest materials. For him to discover the secret of its materials, which even a level 100 blacksmith couldn't see through, sure is interesting. Bell realizes he is in a bad position. The Lord says he couldn't bear to let his father's heirloom crumble away with time. All he wanted was to entrust that to anyone who had a way. He asks Yansu if he doesn't mind that he wants him to take on the restoration of the heirloom. This is the linked quest he got from Helson. The reward is 500 gold. The Lord tells Bell that he can leave now, and he'll call for him if he needs his service again. Bell bows to him respectfully, saying that he understands. But he's just pissed, wondering what Yansu did by taking his money. He tells Yansu that he vows that one day he'll get his revenge, and Yansu just needs to wait. The Lord asks Yansu what they must do to restore their bow. Yansu says if possible he needs buffalo horns, and whale sinew. But he'll also need oak, mulberry, bamboo, and the proper tools. Since he has identified all of the materials, he has acquired the restoration method for the horn bow. The requirements are level 60, and all of the materials. Of course he's allowed substitutes, and if the restoration falls below 70% it will fail, and it will destroy the item. We get a flashback to a young Yansu asking his father if this is how he fixes it. His dad tells him that he can do it alone though, asking if he really enjoys making bows that much. Even with his hands being all scraped up, he's completely absorbed in it. Yansu says that as long as he's doing it with his dad he likes anything. He tells him that he'll teach him smithing once he's older, so for now he just needs to train his hands to handle materials with precision. Yansu says of course, and we see him shedding a tear in real life. Since he is in the new capsule, and with almost 100% sync rate he'll have better access to his skills. He can craft it properly just as he taught him. We see him sitting in front of all the materials. The Lord enters the chamber, saying that he'll help him as well. We hear the sound of them getting to work throughout the night. Yansu is chipping away at the wood to make the actual structure of the bow. He's very careful with it. We see Yansu bending the bow into shape, as he starts to use the sinew to keep it. He begins heating it up to make it more pliable. While he begins sweating, the Lord looks over, saying that this isn't easy to do, especially all day. His grip strength is gradually weakening, but seeing how much fun Yansu is having makes him feel much stronger. He didn't think he'd be doing this for an entire week. After a bit he asks if he can leave. But Yansu says he has to help finish shaping the bow. The reason he's been coming to the workshop every day is because he wanted to personally restore his father's heirloom. The Lord smiles, saying that's true. And that bow is the only item carrying memories of his father. But he asks about him, saying that he seemed to enjoy working on the horned bow quite a lot. Yansu looks down at it, saying that he does, as he has many precious memories as well. To restore memories it takes time, and effort. And they grab each other's arms, as the Lord says he understands. 10 days go by, and then 15, and 20, and finally it's the last day. And the bow has finally been completely restored. It is also epic grade, and the stats are pretty good. The Lord looks at a statue of his father, asking if he's watching. He says just like last time, a mysterious outsider has gifted him the bow once again. Yansu says that he wants to know if the sensation matches what he remembers, and to give it a test. The Lord draws back an arrow, and fires it straight forward until it hits the target. And the Lord says that it's actually not the same. It is far superior to what it once was, and now he has completed the quest entirely. With the result exceeding 100%, he has achieved a miraculous restoration. And his favorability with the Lord has also reached the max. The Lord thanks him, as now he can focus on his duties with peace of mind. But compared to his achievement, the promised reward seems far too small. Therefore, he'll throw in an additional 2,000 gold. And he'll grant him the free use of the forge. Yansu's completely taken aback. He's really excited, because that's 2 million won. And he'll have enough living expenses for at least the next month or two. The Lord then says that there's something else he wanted to know about. He draws his blade, asking if he's ever considered learning swordsmanship. He says that before he is the Lord of Bardon, he is a swordsman. The Prime Sword Art is a secret sword art of the Prime Kingdom that subdued the endless waves of monsters from all directions, and brought stability to Bardon. He is undoubtedly a born blacksmith, but he saw another potential in him. That is the talent of a swordsman. In addition to what was written in Instructor Helson's recommendation letter, he became certain after experiencing him firsthand. His outstanding physical condition, and the agility with which he handles tools, and his unbelievably deep knowledge, as well as his understanding of various weapons. He intends to share a small piece of his swordsmanship's core with him. This is a grade B skill quest. He will get the Prime Sword Art after reaching 80% in training proficiency. The Lord tells him that they don't have time, so he has to watch him closely. He'll have to make him work as hard as he made him work in the workshop. Yansu says this is an unexpected gift. Then a whole month passes by. He crafted a bow for his own use, and worked on restoring the Mad Monarch's rusted armor. And in between his blacksmithing, he would train swordsmanship with the Lord. As we see him finally get the advantage on the Lord smiles at him, and Yansu says with this he has cleared the Prime Sword Art. The Lord asks if he is going to leave now. Yansu says yes, thanks to him he has finished all his preparations, but the Lord just wants to know where he is going to go next. Yansu says that he is going to go get a proper job. The Lord reminds him that if he ever needs help, feel free to stop by. Yansu heads out after saying all of his goodbyes, wondering if he should reorganize his items before he leaves. The equipment he has newly crafted and restored is the Mad Monarch's armor, which we already know about. It will compensate for his low level with its damage reflection skill, and the new bow he made has a 60% accuracy option to cover his living expenses during the upcoming quest. He has crafted some other rare grade bows in his spare time, and put them up on the auction house. We see he put his second bow on the auction house after it, because he is using the first one, and he wants to see how much it will sell for this time. We see someone else looking at the bow on the auction house, saying that something unbelievable has happened. Even the bow made by Black, the ranked number 1 ranker in Korea when he was level 10, wasn't this good. But this person stayed at level 1, and made a bow like that using only low-grade materials. Smith, the world's number 1 ranked blacksmith, once said that everything in this game is ultimately Ares' decision. Whenever Ares is moved by a user's gameplay, it'll bestow upon them a fitting job, skill, or title. For the owner of this smithy to be capable of crafting an artifact of such an outstanding level, then just like Smith, he might end up holding the title of a legendary class. This is actually the guild master of the golden shield named Rune. It ends up selling for 2050 gold, and he says that he can't believe they paid 2 million won for a bow in a game. He is still level 1 by the way, but now he has 3,200 followers, and he can't even keep up with all the guild invites, and crafting request messages anymore. He closes his book, saying it's time to go to the holy land of blacksmiths, as they have a whole tower dedicated to them. He treks through a forest, a river, and even some plains until finally he reaches the Tower of Blacksmiths. He says that it looks even better in person than he imagined. He walks up to the door, wondering how to get in, as it is sealed off. As he stares at it, a status window says that this is the Tower of the Sword Blacksmiths. To become a blacksmith, he needs to strike this seal with a sword forged in the magical forge. Yansu says that this lock-like seal is definitely some kind of igneous rock, and it seems like a type of pumice. He wonders what the magical forge is, saying that it must be this little door. He walks over to it, and enters, seeing the forge below him. The status window says that he can receive training to craft the sword needed for the test. Materials and tools are supplied infinitely, and crafting time is significantly reduced compared to a normal smithy. However, swords crafted here can only be used for the test. Yansu wonders if they are only looking for a forging skill, but knows what he can make to cut stone. We hear a man says that all of this trash recently is the same, all money-hungry goblins, wanting to sell scrap metal made carelessly with poor skills, and not a single one of them is interested in the work of a real blacksmith. The age of blacksmiths ended long ago, and everyone is just in it for the gold. This is the master of this tower named Daeng. He says that if people want the title of blacksmith, then he'll let them have it. However, they can only get it by roughly making a sword, and swinging it. He's given them what they want, so his role is over, and he doubts that anyone will ever slice it. But maybe they'll leave a scratch, as it is absolutely impossible. Yansu says that he's decided that he'll craft the Damascus sword. The status window says that it's something that can only be crafted by the highest grade blacksmiths. Then it recommends him craft a basic iron dagger instead. Yansu says that all the materials are available, and if he knows the crafting method, he can at least give it a try. He recalls his father saying that a sword that can cut stone can be made if he follows this method. Yansu says that if he follows his father's teachings, he can clear this mission too. He's equipped with perfect refining facilities, as well as equipment made with magic. There's an infinite supply of the ore, and he has everything he needs to craft the Damascus sword, and even the required time is reduced. This game is truly insane, and he wants to hammer away to his heart's content for the first time in a while. At the top of the tower, Daeng is sleeping on one of the ledges peacefully, until there's a very loud vibration. It makes him jolt awake, and he looks around, wondering what's going on, as the entire tower itself is shaking. And it's all from somebody hammering down at the forge. He heads down the stairs, wondering what's going on. As he approaches the door, he sees the seal get sliced in half in front of his very own eyes. It falls to the floor, and the door begins to open. He says there's no way. Someone appeared who could actually slice the sealing stone. And finally, the god of blacksmiths has made his appearance. Yansu just wonders if he passed the test though. Daeng says that they have been measuring ability through the sealing stone until now, but the god of blacksmiths here sliced the stone clean in half, so they couldn't get a measurement at all. Yansu wonders if he's really having to do a retest, as Daeng takes him down to a giant magic circle on the floor. Yansu asks what this is, and Daeng tells him it's a summoning circle, but now he wants him to please accept his hammer. Yansu reaches for it, and the status window says that he has received the Hammer of the Covenant. It is linked to an SS grade quest that will now begin. Daeng pushes him into the summoning circle, saying that there is a true test that he must undertake, and he has to pass it. And once more he calls him the god of blacksmiths. We see the light that's teleporting Yansu on top of a castle wall. He's a little dizzy from the teleport, but he just wonders what's going on, and if he really needs to do a retest. But what he sees in front of him is an entire army of orcs, and this is the quest that he has to deal with, to subjugate them. He asks how this is a blacksmith quest to begin with. One of the men then yells, saying that Lord Daeng has sent reinforcements, and Yansu just wonders if they mean him. They greet him, and we see that the clear condition is to achieve 70% contribution along with the 50 warriors. One of the men named Hans thanks him for coming, saying that he's the subjugation leader, and tells him about the orc invasions, and how they're growing fiercer by the day, resulting in many of their weapons being damaged in battle, asking if he could quickly repair them with his skill. He says that there's a misunderstanding, as he hasn't changed class to blacksmith yet, so he can't use that skill. Hans is surprised, asking why he's holding that hammer then. Yansu looks down at it, saying that it's all a misunderstanding, and he obtained it during his class advancement test, and he was sent here to take the additional test. They ask if he has no real battle experience then, and he says yes, as his combat level is still beginner stage. Hans says he thought that he was sent to support them, but they sent someone to learn instead. The invasion is especially fierce today, so he doesn't know what to do. He tells Yansu that since the situation is dangerous, he should stay at the watchtower for a while, as that's a safe place to wait until they return. An axe flies in, and Hans spots it, but so does Yansu, as he turns, deflecting it with his sword. The axe slides across the ground, and Hans is speechless. Yansu says that even though he's still inexperienced, he would like to join the battle, and that this is indeed a retest. Hans just asks how he's meant to be a beginner. The men head off the wall, charging straight towards where the orcs will be invading from. Yansu says that if he fights them like he did against the goblins, it should be fine, and Hans tells Yansu to follow Ben's squad, as he will guide him step by step. Ben tells Yansu to take care of them, but says that he'll go first. The orcs begin charging in, and Ben blocks one of their attacks with a shield. Just from this, Yansu can tell that the pressure is different from the goblins, and that this is a real battle. But he doesn't feel like he'll lose, as he meets one of the orcs, attacks, and cuts its head clean off. As soon as its head hits the floor, he gets a status window telling him that the orc was level 10, and he gained 86 experience. And he is now leveled up to level 2, and Yansu says that a month of training definitely wasn't wasted. Ben is just surprised, asking if he really hasn't changed his class, as that's amazing. Yansu realizes that he's distracted, as another orc leaps in, meaning that he is in danger. He then swaps his weapon to his bow, and draws it back, firing it, as the arrow goes all the way across the battlefield, straight towards one of the orcs in front of Ben. The orc turns to look at it, but it's too late, as it pierces it in the side. Once more, Ben gets distracted, and Yansu has to draw back another arrow, and shoot 2 more orcs, one in the head, and one in the chest. He levels up once more, and Ben says that for him to bring down an orc with just an arrow is impressive. Hans tells him to lock in, as the orcs are all charging at Yansu now. Ben says that he got into danger saving him, and runs forward, saying that he can't really be spaced out in the middle of a battle. It's because of him that he's in this spot. Yansu swaps back to his sword, and uses an attack called Flurry, making it hard for any of the orcs nearby to get close, because as soon as they do, they'll get cut into chunks. One of the ones who was outside of the Flurry range charges in after, but as soon as it walks into Yansu's range, Yansu floats past him, as it gets cut into pieces. He levels up another time, and his contribution has now reached 19%. Hans says no wonder Lord Daeng sent him. As he is now on their side, they can definitely do what they couldn't before, meaning that they actually have a chance to annihilate the orcs, and win. They start glazing at Yansu, and Hans tells everybody that today will finally be the day they annihilate the orc unit. Thanks to Yansu's performance, the squad's morale has risen, and he says that he feels like he's really becoming part of the subjugation squad. But after a while of countless fights, he continues to level up, but his contribution rate is barely increasing, as he's only at 28% now, and he wonders why it's so slow compared to earlier. Yansu gets a hidden quest, and it's something that has never been seen before, as there is a level 51 orc warrior looking over them from a cliff. Hans spots them, telling everybody to stop, as it has finally appeared, the foes they could never bring down before, and their nemesis. The men yell, telling Hans that they are completely surrounded. Hans says that he made a mistake, and in his frenzy he went too deep, but Ben tells Hans that it's okay, and he's sure that today will be the day they win, and he doesn't want to retreat this time. Hans agrees, saying they can't go on like this forever, and he tells everybody that they have no other choice but to charge straight in. As they begin doing so, Yansu says they're all losing composure and rushing in, so he needs to cover them with his bow. The first attack flies in, hitting one of the new orc warriors in the head, and Yansu is surprised that his arrows didn't work. His bow has penetration and accuracy options, as one of the soldiers gets cut down by it. He says that the orc warrior's skin is like solid armor itself, and with just a bow it's going to be impossible to hurt him. Han sees his men falling, and realizes that they might have to retreat once more, but says that he refuses for them to keep living this life of cat and mouse. The orc warrior raises his hand, as Hans runs in and swings, sending Hans' arm flying through the air. The shock and blood loss is too much for Hans, and he falls onto the floor, and Yansu yells at him, telling him to get back up. Yansu says this is wrong, and he sees Ben and the rest barely holding on. Yansu says no matter what he can do, he can't pierce their armor. At this rate, they're cooked. Ben holds the same sentiment, saying that they'll be wiped out. Yansu grits his teeth out of frustration, and yells, telling everybody that if they keep fighting like this, the casualties will only grow, and that they should form ranks first, and focus solely on defense. Yansu tells everybody to fall back quickly into the forest behind them, and he'll follow right after. Ben yells, saying that everybody needs to follow his orders, and they need to get the captain to safety, and regroup. As they start retreating to the forest, we see Yansu protecting their retreat, and Ben tells him that in the forest their speed is going to be slowed down. At best, it will only buy them a little time. He says that all he needs is 5 minutes, asking if he can hold off for that long. Ben realizes that he must have something planned, and says he can, and they'll endure no matter what. Deep in the forest, we see Yansu running in, saying that if the arrows aren't strong, then there's a simple solution. As he's now surrounded himself with bamboo, he pulls out the hammer, which we now know is called Diang's replica hammer. It is an epic grade weapon, and the passive is it replicates consumables when crafting, and shortens crafting time. Yansu says that it's definitely possible now. As the soldiers begin doing their part, fighting off the orcs, and buying Yansu time, blood continues to fly, and Ben's struggling to stand up, saying that they have to hold on, as they told him 5 minutes. As he told Yansu they could hold on for 5 minutes. He says this is not a long time, and they need to do their best. If they can't hold on for 5 minutes, then they're just gonna die anyway. One of the orc warriors raises its weapon, and swings down, cleaving towards Ben. Ben can't do anything but watch, but something flies in, hitting the axe, causing it to fly to the side, deflecting it. A second flies in, hitting the warrior in the head, causing blood to fly out from it. Ben asks what's going on, and the orc soldiers, and even Ben, turn to see Yansu off in the distance, using a new type of arrow. The orc warriors realize they have to deal with him first, and start running in. But Yansu is finally piercing their armor one after the other. Ben's just so glad that he came back. And we see that what Yansu's using is actually split bamboo. It has 70% penetration, and 60% arrow speed. It has a lot of destructive force behind it, enough to shatter stone. He says it's a tonga, made from split bamboo, which enhances the firepower of his arrow, but it's as good as he can make with the hammer in the short amount of time. And if he adds these to the hornbow in its own power, it actually turns into a set effect, giving him 5% attack power, and 10% penetration. More of the orcs begin charging in, and Ben's men step up to buy Yansu more time. They yell, saying they have to make sure he has enough time to attack. Yansu fires another arrow, hitting one of the orcs straight in the head, and he says that this arrow's piercing power rivals a musket. He then loads the next arrow, and shoots it out, aiming straight for its chest, blowing a hole through it. With him killing them, he has leveled up a ton, as well as gaining the title Orc Slayer. This means his attack power against orcs has increased by 15%, and they feel fear towards him. They're weakening, dropping their weapons, running away. And Ben and his men yell that they can't let it escape. Yansu's the first to run in, and leaps off a nearby rock, raising his bow once more. He looks straight towards his target, and releases the arrow. The orc tries to make a break for it to dodge, but he's too slow, as it flies in, hitting it straight in the chest, and now that he has the added bonus from his title, it actually just explodes out the back of it. The equivalent of a cannon shot, his quest progress is now 92%, and he cleared it with astonishing results. The men start cheering on Yansu, saying his name over and over. Why the hell does his leg look like that though? But they start cheering him on, and they also trust his commands. Due to him having cleared a hidden piece, he gets a special effect of 10 charisma. Ben carries Hans over to him, saying that just holding the line was overwhelming, and he thought they'd never achieve it in their lifetime. Their long-awaited wish, defeating the orcs. Hans raises his nub to his chest, thanking him, and all the other soldiers as well begin to salute Yansu. Yansu does the same out of respect, thanking them. He says the additional trial is now complete, and it's time for him to return to the Tower of Blacksmiths, but he has no idea how to get back. Back to the tower. We see Daeng telling some other people that their tower is in decline, and all honor and glory are claimed by the knights. Only those blinded by gold coins seek out their tower, and they need someone with a true blacksmith soul. Someone who is worthy to wield this sword. Many candidates have come on, but the prophecy has not been fulfilled. He was left behind by the god of blacksmiths long ago, a prophecy that a successor would appear, and bring prosperity once more. One of the men starts laughing at him, and says that is why among all the tower lords, he is the only one who has earned the right to test the sword. However, he wants to know if this is merely the trickery of the chosen one, to call them together only to tell them he has given the right to test the sword to a mere young foreigner. This guy's name is Coulson. Daeng asks if he didn't read the letter that he sent, as this is a rightful qualification for one who passed the test they sent. Furthermore, he has not chosen a profession yet. Yet he led soldiers, and with his blacksmithing skills, annihilated orc warriors. The other tower masters ask if he really annihilated them without a profession. Daeng says that the test was based on the prophecy. The successor to the god of blacksmiths will be stronger than anyone, therefore this sword will provide the final answer. At least that's what he hopes. A man then enters, telling Daeng that Yansu has arrived at the hall. Daeng says that he needs to go back, and grab him, and lead him here to the sword. As everybody is waiting, Yansu makes his way up the stairs, and pushes the door open. They welcome him. Daeng says that he has passed the test, and earned the right to enter their sanctuary. Also, he has earned the right to challenge the sword of prophecy left by the god of blacksmiths. The moment he grabs the sword, everything will be decided, and he will receive a fitting title. Yansu says that he even cleared an additional SS rank quest in the class advancement test, so maybe it is a legendary class advancement. Coulson congratulates him on standing with them in this glorious place, saying that it was a splendid performance. This shows such resourcefulness in such a crucial moment. However, the errors he made were merely imitations in the end, and he was lucky. If he hadn't had an epic grade bow from the start, he never would have passed the test. So he needs to hurry up, and draw the sword, and see if luck will be on his side this time as well. Yansu can tell this guy is condescending, but says that these are still the masters of the blacksmith's tower. Each of them has forged the legends of Ares, and they are all super renowned NPCs. As blacksmiths, they must possess impressive levels and titles that inspire awe. And while they certainly are great, as Coulson is level 365, and is the blacksmith of bows, he says that he doesn't feel like his skills are inferior at all to anything they could produce. He wants to know what would happen if they competed purely without the aid of titles. As he walks toward the sword, Yansu says that he will give it a try, but it starts to resonate. It sends out a strong shockwave to everyone else in the tower. As the sword itself starts to vanish from the ground, and spread out into a fragment of light that blinds them. It then places itself in Yansu's chest, and he asks what just happened. He starts touching his chest, asking where the sword went, and Daeng says it's just as he expected, and he starts laughing, saying that this is what it meant for their prophecy to be fulfilled. In all this time, they merely created rituals and procedures as they pleased. If he truly was the successor, there was no need for him to even grab the sword. Coulson realizes what this means, and the position he will hold in the tower, and says that he won't accept this. But a bright golden status window appears, congratulating him as Ares' first god class. Coulson says it wasn't Daeng or even him, and it was just some foreigner, as Yansu has now officially advanced to the god of blacksmiths class. At level 10, Bro finally doesn't have to put the fries in the bag. He asks what a god class is, and if it's really Ares' first. He also has a unique title now, which is SSS rank, and when crafting artifacts he is not subject to material level restrictions. When crafting artifacts, mastery increases based on the type, and as a blacksmith he will become stronger than anyone. His class quest, the sword trial, will begin at level 100. The other tower master starts talking about it, saying that this is as per the prophecy, but Coulson yells out of frustration, saying that he refuses to let this be. All of them are tower lords who have been awaiting a great successor, one who has received a revelation from the god of blacksmiths himself, and they cannot assume that the sword's choice is the will of that god. Daeng yells, telling him that the prophecy is absolute, but Coulson says that it is not, and he who is acknowledged by all tower lords shall become the successor, and that is also part of the prophecy. Therefore, He challenges him to a blacksmith's duel. If he defeats him in the duel, he will acknowledge him as the successor. But if he wins, then the status of the successor chosen by the sword prophecy will mean nothing, and he will have to forfeit. Daeng says that he has lost his mind, and he tells all the other tower lords that they need to restrain him, but they low-key don't want to, and he realizes that they must also feel kind of similar. Coulson says that he can back out if he wants, and he will grant him the position of vice tower lord, and that is only if he agrees to obediently receive his education. Daeng yells at him once more, but Yansu accepts, saying that this is a challenge that he is completely up for. In the first place, he doesn't know why he is so condescending, as he definitely doesn't think his skills are worse. Blacksmiths speak through their skill alone, and we see that now that he has a class, he can use an ability called God's Custom Crafting. The duel itself is a quest that is S grade. Coulson says that their dueling method is different from that of a knight. The items they pour their souls into making at the forge will be used by each of them, and they will clash, and the first to break loses. There is a top-tier smithy he had prepared within the hall, and now that he has the blacksmith skill, a day should be enough time for him to forge a weapon. That is only if he is truly the god of blacksmiths. He says that he will see him tomorrow, as he walks away. Daeng says that he stepped up to participate in the next battle, which he didn't expect to happen. He says that Yansu accepted the duel too hastily, as Coulson was exceptionally skilled even among the tower masters. Yansu says that even if he obtained a god skill, he still needs time to grow. If he had not changed his class, it would have been a duel he was guaranteed to lose. Inside of Ares, incredible skills and buffs are granted based on level and title. Furthermore, as tower masters, they have unique special abilities. However, once he class changed to a god class, the gap disappeared. The difference determined purely by skill has become even more distinct. Because of the skill he obtained God's custom-made creation, which is God grade itself, he can custom make any artifact he desires, and imbue the artifact he is creating with any effect he wants. The higher the grade of the effect, the higher the crafting difficulty. The effect value is granted at 0 to 100% depending on the crafting technique. Away at the smithy, Coulson is starting already. He says that he was a blacksmith who forged swords for a while. He knows a swordsmithing technique passed down through his family for generations, and he was also the successor who rightfully inherited that skill from his father. But then a master appeared whose skill far surpassed his own, so instead of swords, he had to become the tower master of the bow. Although he was resentful, he acknowledged and accepted it all because of a great vow that he made at the time. But in truth, he has always regretted it. That vow was something that held him back. And now they brought in some stranger from who knows where, and placed him above him, and that is something he absolutely cannot tolerate, as he starts pouring his soul into his sword. Yansu as well as forging a blade, and after a bit he looks up at it, and Daeng says that the process of imbuing artifacts with abilities and effects is based on the fundamental principle that to gain one thing, you must lose another. To secure advantageous conditions for the duel, strength must be prioritized, and the weapon breaker stat must be maxed. That's why to get the desired ability, he had to craft it at the highest possible grade, and that his strength and stats are merely at the rare grade level right now. And he doesn't actually know if he's going to be able to win this, and he wonders just what he's thinking, and what the abilities of his god class are. It is now time for the duel, as he and Coulson are standing before one another. Coulson says that seeing as how he hasn't run away, it seems that he managed to make something overnight, and he wants to see if his skills are worthy of him to be called a successor of a god. He draws his blade, saying first he shall introduce his sword. It's called Black Knight, and we see that its durability is 12,000, its attack power is almost 700, and it has a unique ability. There's some other special abilities that I'm not going to read. Daeng looks at it, realizing that Yansu might be outclassed, and even the other tower masters say as expected, his skill is incredible. For him to make a unique grade overnight is crazy. Coulson says of course, this is obvious, as this is a masterpiece into which he poured his family's traditions and secret techniques. And he wants to see what Yansu has made. Yansu unsheathes his blade, and as the sheath drops to the floor, Coulson is taken aback, but Daeng looks really happy. If we look at stats, the durability is only 1000, the attack is only 200, and it's only rare grade. The other tower masters ask if that's really all, they say that it seems Coulson is right after all. Coulson seems a bit disappointed, but smiles, realizing that he's won this bet, and says that he's made a huge mistake this time, and he can't believe he made this ridiculous bet with a little kid. He charges forward, saying that he'll end this here. Yansu raises his blade as Coulson charges in. Yansu swings forward, aiming straight for his sword, and we see it break the Black Knight in half. Daeng's surprised, and Coulson just looks pissed. But Yansu knew it would happen, and as soon as the blade hits the floor, Coulson freezes up, asking him how exactly he did that. Yansu says that swords aren't just judged by their grade alone. What he put into the special ability was the sword that cuts swords. It's a 65% chance to slice through another sword. It's one of a kind, and cannot be repaired. Coulson realizes how foolish he's been, and recalls his father telling him that someday the god of blacksmiths will come to this land, and he's a person who will shatter their common sense, and lead them with new teachings, and the chance to meet him is given to everybody. Coulson says that maybe if he becomes a great blacksmith, he'll be able to receive his teachings. Daeng can tell that he's reflecting on it, and says that simply breaking the sword won't be enough to persuade the tower masters. And he knew that, and he recalls Yansu saying that he would create the sword that cuts swords. We get a flashback to him asking if it was really possible. Yansu says that it was by no means an easy task, as creating an artifact at the desired level ultimately comes down to a blacksmith's skill, and the sweat that he sheds. We already know that for his custom-made creation, the effect is based on the technique he used. Daeng says that bold choices and decisions that defy common sense, and the knowledge and ability to carry them out, are all things that Yansu possesses. And while he had his doubts, it turned out to be true. Coulson finally calls him by his class name, asking if he too will be able to create a sword like that. Yansu smiles at him, saying that the word impossible does not exist to him. Coulson begins tearing up, and drops to one of his knees, and says that he greets the god of blacksmiths, and he has successfully cleared the quest. Some time later, Coulson returns with a gift, telling Yansu to accept it. First, he'd like to offer 500 gold coins. Yansu asks if this is the quest reward, but the next thing Coulson gives him is something passed down through the masters of the tower. It is a scroll containing the legendary bow recipe, one of the 10 treasures of the blacksmith's tower. He says this is a bow recipe that he was never able to complete himself, and it is only right to give it to one on the path of becoming a powerful being. Daeng says that now that the god of blacksmiths has finally appeared, they too will devote themselves anew. Therefore, they want him to aim to stand at the pinnacle of the tower, and explore the wider world. Yansu heads out, and gives them one final wave, and Daeng says that the growth of a god starts now. At a nearby restaurant, we see Yansu and Jihyun cheersing, and Jihyun says that he can't believe he's drinking beer bought by Yansu. On top of that, he got a god class advancement. Jihyun says that he recommended Ares to him because it'd be a waste of his skills, but he never imagined he'd be this talented at the game. After all his suffering at the forge, he's finally seeing the light. He asks what's different about a god class though. Yansu says that he doesn't think there are drastic changes right away. More importantly, he has to go pay for his father's hospital bill tomorrow. They've added another 10 million won to the treatment cost. Jihyun says, speaking of which, he looked into the new medicine Yansu asked for his father. The new medicine isn't covered by insurance, so they said to expect it to cost at least 20 million, and on top of that, his burn treatments as well. His class alone will never be enough to make money, and there's a limit to how many artifacts he can craft and sell due to stamina. Fundamentally, he needs to level up, and gain fame. Yansu recalls Daeng's words about his growth starting now. Jihyun says that he needs to befriend the most famous people in Ares, and that's the only way to get much bigger rewards and rare items from quests of the same grade, and use that as a foundation to craft the best artifacts again. Yansu wonders how he's meant to do that, and Jihyun says he actually came up with an idea. Jihyun says that he will rack up the best achievements, and give him a free carry. Yansu laughs at him, saying that he should just try not to get fired from his job. Jihyun tells him that he's serious though. On one of the messenger boards, we hear some people in Ares chat talking about how Lord, who was always ranked 21st, finally became a legendary class. That's not all. The most amazing thing is that he actually ended up defeating the Sword King, Barad. People are skeptical, asking if he really managed to land a hit, and they say that's right. No one has ever been able to hit him until now. That alone is amazing, and they want to know how he did it. He says he did something that none of the other users up until now could have, and they wonder how Lord, somebody who's not in the top 10, was able to pull it off. Back to Yansu at the hospital, he says it's going to be 30 million a month, and he has to pay the overdue hospital bills by today. Even with the quest rewards and auction house profits, it's not enough, and he can't let his father's treatment stop. He then is surprised when he gets on his phone. He saw that his first custom-made sword had a winning bid of 53,000 gold, and it was sold to Lord, and that's how he actually did it. Yansu quickly runs to the receptionist, saying that he would like to pay his dues right now, and he absolutely can never stop playing the game. Yansu messaged Lord, thanking him personally. Lord says that it was thanks to him that he was finally able to fulfill his dream of passing Barad's trial. If everyone understood the value of the sword he crafted, they would know that the 50,000 gold he paid is not a high price at all. To strike the Sword King's sword and create an opening, even he had a surprised look on his face. He wanted Lord to tell Yansu personally that the king of the Gwayar kingdom, Barad, is waiting for him, and he wants him to craft a sword specifically for him. Yansu was surprised by this, but Lord recommended that he go to see him. Yansu heads out of the hospital, saying that his father's hospitalization and new medicine treatment are both going to be able to be solved with this, but he does need to go meet Barad and find the lost forge as well. Elsewhere, we see a man stepping out of a car. He's a pretty big dude. He's looking at Yansu's father's workshop, and he says that there's only 1 month left until their promise. Back to Yansu that night, he's on the phone with Jihyun. Jihyun says he can't actually meet Barad, and he asks if he really thought having a god class is everything. There's no way a level 10 can meet the king. To meet such high status NPCs, his level of fame has to be just as high, so he needs to be at least level 200. But it's not like there's no way. The Gwayar martial arts tournament is held every year in the kingdom, and it's an event tournament with a level 50 to 60 limit. The Sword King Barad is always looking for talent with potential for growth, and that's why he holds the martial arts tournament every year. It's going to be held pretty soon, and the winner receives their prize money directly from Barad. This is the only way to meet him at the moment. We see Yansu on a carriage heading somewhere, and it's because Daeng told him to go to the castle territory. It's a place on the border of Prime and Gwayar, where war with the undead is waged daily, and they will need his skills more than anyone. The castle territory is a territory defense zone where you stop the invasion of undead monsters. Yansu says, according to Daeng, the fastest place to level up is right there, and he has to clear it, regardless of what quest they give him, so he can actually go and meet Barad. Yansu finally enters the castle territory, and instantly they ask if he is one of the reinforcements from the capital. As it's perfect timing, as they were desperate for even one more person right now. He is a centurion named Lander, level 76. He says because the number of invading undead has increased. Yansu is surprised, asking if the numbers really increased, wondering if there might be a reason. Lander says that when the holy bell of Ramus rings in the castle territory, the invading undead become vulnerable, making them easy to defeat. Until now, the sound of the bell of Ramus has kept the undead at a distance. Yansu says it must be some kind of event system. Lander then tells him that a while ago it actually shattered into pieces, and they were caught off guard, and didn't know what to do, so they've been reinforcing their defenses. But the enemies are starting to notice, and they're gathering. Yansu asks if it can't be repaired, and then Lander realizes that he's probably from the tower, asking if Daeng sent him. Yansu says yes, he was actually sent by him personally. Lander asks why he didn't start with that, as they've been waiting, and they can go to the commander now. They then stand before the commander, who doesn't know if he should believe it or not, asking if Daeng really sent him. His name is Cal, and he is the knight commander. Lander says that it's true, and he says that he wants to see the Bell of Ramus in person. Cal says that if that's the case, he must have come knowing that even Daeng deemed the bell unrepairable, and that the Lord has already secretly commissioned its restoration several times, but they all had the same result. The shattered Bell of Ramus was nothing more than an unrepairable artifact. Although there is one person among them who is still in castle looking for a way to repair it, it's nothing but a fool's errand. They're level 290, and even they can't do it. Then he asks Yansu what his level is, and requests to view his information. Yansu then informs him that he's only level 13. Cal says that he doesn't want to blame him for coming to help them, but he should first find a place where someone of his level could be of help. Right now, the castle territory is on the brink of destruction, and the day the main undead forces begin to move will be their day of reckoning. It is his duty to protect the Lord, and the people of this territory to the very end, so he must fulfill that duty. One of the men then yells to Cal, saying that the undead are invading the eastern wall, and there is a huge number of ghouls swarming in. All the ghouls are level 41. Cal says it's dangerous, and they must defend the main gate. He then tells Lander to follow him, and then says that he thought this goes without saying, but he wanted Yansu to know that everything they discussed is a secret. Yansu says of course, and he says that if this is like the Battle of the Orcs, it's definitely possible. He then gets the quest for the territory defense, as the ghouls begin swarming the east side of the wall. They're starting to climb up it using each other as stepping stools. The soldiers are doing their best to fight them off, but some are still getting over. Lander says that undead monsters are hard to kill without a weapon imbued with holy power, so he needs to aim for the same spot multiple times. As he sees Yansu drawing back his bow, Yansu shoots it out, piercing through one of the heads of the ghouls in an instant. Lander is surprised that he took down the head of a ghoul in a single shot without even using any holy power. Yansu then does it again, but this time gets a collat, clip that shit, hitting 5 in a row, causing their siege tower to crumble. The soldiers begin cheering, and Lander starts to get hyped up. Yansu says this is more manageable than he thought, and if things keep going like this, he can definitely clear it soon. But a status window appears saying that a new story begins, and his quest has now been changed. It's now for him to defeat the giant siege ghoul, as we see it approaching the tower. And it's unequaled, and it's as tall as the wall itself. Lander starts freaking out, saying they have to go get the Knight Commander now, as this thing is level 89. They run to get him, but they spot him at the bottom of the tower, busy defending the gate, so he can't spare any time. They say at this rate, the wall is in danger. Yansu says he'll draw its attention for a bit, and Lander asks how he's meant to do that. Yansu quickly leaps off the wall, flying off of it, and the men try telling him that it's too dangerous to go alone. Yansu readies his blade, and charges forward, slicing through a whole ton of ghouls on the way down, killing them in an instant. He safely lands at the bottom of the tower, right before the siege ghoul. He says that he just needs to take it down, and he's made up his mind. He charges forward towards its leg. He actually goes past it, jumping into the back line, sending the ghouls flying. The siege ghoul turns around to chase Yansu, and he says he has to get it far away from the wall. He doesn't actually know if he's successfully got its attention yet, but when he turns around to check, he sees its foot right over him. I wish I could sniff them hounds. He manages to dodge the attack, and this happens 2 more times back to back, and Yansu narrowly dodges each and every one. He just wonders why it's so fast, saying if that's the case, he needs to swap to his bow. As he does so, he readies one of the arrows he used on the orcs, and shoots it out, saying that with this, it'll be finished. The arrow flies in, hitting it straight in the head, but of course, it didn't do anything to the siege ghoul, as it's now just staring at him, pissed off. Its eyes start to glow a deep red, and Yansu is just surprised it did no damage. It then raises its foot once more, but this time it kicks forward, punting him, taking his health below 10% in an instant. The game reminds him that he will be forcibly logged out at 0, and he says that this isn't how it's meant to go. Yansu starts to stand back up, saying that there's no way he'll deal with a forced logout, and they can't say something so absurd. If he can't clear this episode, he won't be able to participate in the martial arts tournament, and if that happens, his father's bills, and his own treatment, and taking back the blacksmith's shop will all be impossible, and he can't go back to being the hopeless person he once was. He started this game to change his reality, and here he absolutely cannot give up. He draws his bow once more, and fires another shot, but this time aiming for its thigh, blowing a hole straight through it. It starts to scream in pain, and roars. Just the roar itself starts to take some of Yansu's health, putting him below 3%. He says that he will not give up, as it starts to run straight towards him, slamming its hand forward. Yansu fires another shot, blowing a hole through the side of the ghoul, and he says that it's not over yet. But as soon as he readies the next shot, his string snaps on his bow, and he's surprised. As the hand starts coming in, he realizes there's nothing he can do, and it slams him into the floor. His health is now 1, and he wonders if it's over. But he says that he won't let this happen like this, and he refuses to give up. A special condition has now been met. His health is below 5%, and with a powerful desire, he can now acquire a new skill. He has acquired God's emergency crafting, and he can now begin it. However, he must craft a weapon within 20 seconds. The weapons made through emergency crafting can only be used for 30 seconds themselves. Yansu says that this is his chance. The timer now starts, and he says that the way to clear this episode is right now, and it's his last chance. As he has 20 seconds, he starts hammering away over and over, crafting something desperately. He raises up the hot metal, sticking it into the water, cooling it down. He actually manages to pull it off, bro a speedrunner, barely making a sword within the time frame, and he grabs onto it, leaping forward, slicing straight through the ghoul, landing behind it. The attack itself doesn't look like it did anything at first, but it did that typical anime thing where it was delayed. Pretty much, he just cuts the ghoul in half, causing it to fall onto the floor. He's still just in disbelief until it finally sets in. He looks up excitedly, saying that he actually did it. Due to him defeating the siege ghoul, he went all the way up to level 38 in one go, and he says that this level is more than enough, and he falls unconscious. As the guards quickly run over, calling out for him, he later wakes up, and we see him bandaged. He asks how long he was out, and how much time has passed, but the guards are all just cheering him on, saying that he's a true hero. He asks what all of this is, and we hear Cal saying that they made it through another day because of him. As he puts his hand on his shoulder, he asks him how exactly he did it, and thanks him. Yansu realizes he can't exactly explain it, and Cal wonders if it's that incredible, but to Yansu, it's not a story anybody would believe no matter how he explained it. Cal says that he doesn't have to be humble, as he was the star of the show today. Yansu says that since ghouls are weak to divine power, they're being similar to ghosts. As soon as he learned of that trait, the four-seal sword immediately came to mind for him. To ward off disasters, and meant to drive away evil spirits. Thanks to his father telling him about its restoration that day, he was able to bring that sword into existence, and he's so glad that it turned out just as he thought. Cal says that he also needs to give him his reward, and he's put in a generous amount, giving him 2,000 gold. Yansu thanks him, saying that he just got another 2 million won. Cal then clears his throat, saying that he misunderstood him, thinking that he was like the other outsiders, and he bows, wanting him to accept his apology. Yansu tells him that it's alright, and he's just glad he acknowledged him in the end, as his affinity has now reached max. Cal then says he would like to make a formal request, as he wants him to repair the bell. The sword he had earlier definitely had divine power in it, and he believes that someone like him would be able to do it. Yansu tells him that he appreciates the offer, but he must get to the Guayar kingdom. Cal says that he actually forgot something important, the fact that he is a blacksmith, and that their lord possesses a legendary mineral. If he fixes the bell, he might even give him that. This immediately piques Yansu's interest, and he heads to his lord's chambers, and opens the door, showing him the bell that he needs to repair. Yansu says that it's not just broken, it's completely shattered. Cal says that he wants to know if he can trust his words to remake it. Yansu says of course, but it's way worse than he expected, but he still thinks there has to be a way. A woman then enters the room, telling them that the bell cannot be repaired. Something that's impossible for even a level 290 like herself means there's no way someone who's not even close in level could do it. She gets right up to Yansu's face, saying that he must be a fraud. If you've watched till the end, comment, Maestro, to let me know. Subscribe for more videos like this, leave a like or a comment to help the channel out. Thanks for watching.